Today is Monday, the 22nd day of July, 2019. My name is Derek, and welcome to the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades of the like, well, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. Let's take a quick look to start off first within precious metals. As gold on the monthly term time frame, hanging in there, pretty much more of a pause, semi-bullish pause month. And on the 3-day chart, after a few periods going up, nice sideways consolidation, looking like a potentially maybe trying to break past it. We can see on the daily chart that on the session on 17th, 18th, yeah, the previous session in here goes up, comes back down to where we came from on the rising 18th. So really big, interesting spot. It can still give back a little bit more towards the 18 average of lows and a higher low to this level here to keep and still keep this bullish setup in remaining format. But it did make a statement on this July 18th period that it was ready to make another leg higher. Instant correction down, of course. Within here, there's a move up, and so far, just really hanging in there since that move lower. Silver on the daily time frame is continuing to go overextended above the 18 average with a phenomenally large leg above the last one, which was in at 15 and a half. This one has managed to get above 16 and a half, currently at 16.38. As today's session is up right now, and just a little bit of a pullback, sort of like gold did, but obviously not coming back to the 18 lows, not coming back to where we came from, other than this one coming back to a little bit further from that beforehand. Amongst it on its market, say on a 3-hour term time frame, there was this correctionary move one period. Technically, the low came in the next, but from the bottom, it has managed to have this price action last night come up to the 18 average of highs and has now just been hanging in there, really showing strength amongst the lower end of the 18 average of highs, not on the upper end. So it's resisting the 18 average of highs, but nowhere near the lows. So it's holding this move that it's recently had very nicely. And amongst the 18 average of highs on the daily term, yeah, do you know what? Hanging in there still nicely. But it's one of those things where it looked like, oh, 6 o'clock this morning, breaking it. Nope. That's not breaking down. It's still looking good, but nothing yet is happening for this thing to have a great move. Meanwhile, the gold to silver ratio going down a lot faster than it has been going up with continuous large size red candles down. This is 6 in a row. Yeah, last one was the smallest, down 2/3%, and currently down right now 0.97%. But as I stated, yeah, it's a faster going down than it was up. But obviously, as we take a look at where it has been coming from, it is merely on the more longer term time frame, just coming back to some areas that was already really high based on where the ratios have been before, as the level of key resistance on the ratio between 71 and 83. Well, it's coming down hard and it's still at 87. Let's now move on to cryptocurrencies. First off, being Bitcoin against the US dollar, which is in the sideways range, but within it, we have the last big high that it's had near 14K and keeping the 18 average train riding to the upside. There was a failed breakout from July the 8th to July the 10th, which resisted this Fibonacci line, not successfully correcting within the 18, thus failing. There's the break of the 18 average of lows on July 14th, the retest of this previous support. Since then, it has managed to just hang in there going sideways again, but is holding in like a thread amongst the lows. And are we seeing this level of a resistance break? Obviously, breaking through. The answer to that will be most certainly that of yes. It hasn't even attempted a move to the 18 average of highs. And there's really not much to go over because when we look at this on the shorter term time frame, amongst the 8 hour, just sideways amongst this level. So until we have a clear break below or above this Fibonacci line, I'm just going to call this neutral, choppy, into that realm. We've had this last attempt to break out. We can see it's came down to the 18 average of low, so definitely some weakness signals if it's going to stay and hold in the 10.2 to 10.4-ish area. If it doesn't get above 10,500 for an okay period of time, then you got to give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's going to manage to have its breakdown. But when I look at the overall scheme of things on the longer term and where we stand, first within the weekly, this key level of previous resistance or support, which was supposed to be an area I'd be looking for resistance, that most certainly was not, has held and stayed well above it. For it was holding and staying above it within just this sideways consolidation in May. On the monthly chart, it's just a pausing and holding in there. You see two tiny green candles up, and then these three green candles as we are seeing in here. And 18 average was declining, now starting to rise. It's just pausing in there. And there's not much more to say about that. If I see, oh, daily time frame, it goes down, oh, that's volatility for you. I'll just put the daily up. Well, and I'll put the line in here just to, okay, so this is where the 18 is. We'll assume that it would take into August and the 18 average of lows could at least come up to the 6,200 number. Well, that 6,200 number, when we look on the daily chart, that would be a significant leg from here. But that tells me if we go to 78.85, there's going to be a period of people that are panicking. And of course, almost everybody holding the Bitcoin will notice their portfolio values significantly lower than what they were before, especially if they're holding alts, and they do end up doing worse during that point in time there. But on the long term, that's not going to do anything to put this in any type of bearish momentum. In fact, what it would be doing is having this level of resistance I was talking about that was supposed to be none, supposed to be some that was none, that had liftoff support. Well, it would have longer term support. And that's, of course, if that even comes into tuition, because until I can see a clear breakout below here, well, then that means that it's still in this range, and the market overall, all these moves, it was innocent till proven guilty, all that type of stuff. It's got to break one side or another, and oftentimes you're just going to have multiple hits on each side, and that's just how it goes. So as far as this is concerned, like I say, I want to see a clear break below. Well, what happened back in here? Was there any type of clear break below in this spot? There was points in here where, yeah, this failed breakdown. Definitely reasons where you're like, oh, maybe it's breaking down below. Time to get out or sell some, or time to short or whatnot. It's not the easiest of things to play in this fast market, because if you're trying to sell on weakness, every time it gets weaker and weaker, well, the amount that you sell at, the value of it, is worse and worse. So when you clearly see at some point, oh, I see at whatever price, say 9,000, it's going to go lower. And if you're right, you'll be right. It'll go down maybe to whatever number. Then you got to be, if you're going to be looking to buy back, you have to be able to time your buybacks in right. Maybe you say it's going to go down, say it goes to 9,000, or it's at 9,000, you say it's going to go lower, and it does go lower. It goes to like 7,900, but you're looking to buy, say, wherever else, 75, and it doesn't hit it. So you technically were right that it was going to go lower, and then your trade will still end up being wrong. So those types of things can very easily happen. And then every time you sell on weakness or go long on strength, you're always going to be having that possibility of that failed breakdown or failed breakout. Because if you're selling on weakness as it's breaking down below in this 9,000 area, well, that's what it'd either be. If it goes down here and it bottoms in this area, that's a failed breakdown. Because if it goes down here in a little bit, it's probably going to go down a bit more. Same thing on any type of upside moves. So anyone going long in here thinking, okay, that it's probably going to end up going higher as it's breaking out, well, you buy near the highs and it can go down pretty harsh if we're talking about a breakout or breakdown pattern that doesn't happen in the opposite direction. Now let's switch on to some altcoins, because Theta looks pretty interesting. And I've been saying for a few days there was some interesting buying that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. But going on with the date of July the 17th, And that was part of that interesting buying. It's going back to that day. This is no misprint. This really happened. Back in here, 1400 twice the price action. Someone just bought big. And what happens is in one shot, someone's like, "Yep, I got say $750,000 worth of cryptos, Bitcoin, 600,000." And I think that's when I quickly looked at the numbers, and I'm going by memory right now. I think that's around what the first one was closer to 1 million than 100,000, but in six figures. So you have that much Bitcoin, and you want to be. It's not a fun job to try to accumulate. $750,000 worth, $250,000 worth, $400,000 worth of this stuff, and try to not let the price get out of control. Because every time it does, and you just buy it up at one shot, it's going to do this every single time, where it's going to go up and then go back down. Maybe you might get fortunate enough, and in right situations, you'll see something like this where it'll at least make a higher low from where it was. But again, this happened once, and then like under 20 minutes later, someone bought it up quick once again. Just full market price. They would even most likely had the warning and probably didn't care. And that warning is, you are about to buy it up much more than market price. Are you sure you want to do it? And of course, they know they're a big game player. At least they know how many. It's a large sum of fiat currency or Bitcoin in this case, that they be playing. Let's go back to the chart again. And then within that daily chart after that move, that was all about those 2 periods. That's what made this line occur. And it has been 4 days since that day where it resisted in a range between 1200 and what looks to be about 1100. So staying in the 1100s for about 100 hours, maybe even a bit more. Price action before all this was happened was hanging in there within the 18 average of lows for quite some time after resisting on July the 2nd. Before July the 2nd, it encountered a 3-day rally, a couple-day consolidation before then, after a severe long decline from June 11th through June the 11th to June the 26th. So we're seeing today's session breaking out above the 18 highs. It has managed to get above all this short-term level of resistance. But it's barely gotten above it. We can see that most certainly there in the barely getting above. But I like that setup as I see it in here. There was that big double buy situation. Markets had that little bit of a rally after that event, but wasn't able to get much above the 12. And here's your correctionary move. Retest of that level, failed breakout, but successful correctionary test as we're seeing now. And up to the highs, a little bit of a pullback, up to the highs, no pullback, now getting above this, getting above that. And viewing it on the 3-hour term, we can see this resistance was tested immediately after the double buy. And then after coming down to 1061, it had a very good resistance area move. So technically, I guess it hasn't gotten above this high, or if it has by microscopic portions. It is a matching level, pretty much exact. And I don't care if it's microscopically above or below. But this number got to a high of 1224 on the exact term. So the second hit to these levels, well north of the 1100s, we'll call it, from the double buy on the 3-hour time. So another pullback. Here's another attempt here, getting at 1185 this morning, but had to successfully go through a correctionary test. Small little rally, but not really much getting above it. And within this one, getting above it, and now we're on pause period number 2. And we'll see, it's 1 hour in, 1/3 of this way through almost. But it paused the last period. So you see it break above it, yet all of this congestion area from this point A move. So we had all of this mid 1100s area to congest. So if it could support some of this resistance area, and I'm looking at 1167, hasn't even come down there yet. So 1167 we can see was this resistance. Let me just go like this to see this better. So 1170 here. 11. Yeah, you can just, yeah, this whole 1160, because this was this part here. It was the general area of this resistance. It almost got to it here, this point in here. And that's, of course, if it's going to have any type of deeper correction. I like how it's already held on the single hour within the 18 average of lows. 8 minutes and 35 seconds left in the hour. So this hour lifted off from this point, got to the highs, started to get above. As we move into the next hour, if I see further momentum breaking through this, that's a powerful sign. If I see just within this mode, from this high to this low, holding and staying at 1200 for the rest of the afternoon, showing strength amongst the 18 average of highs, anything of that type of nature, and then lift off there after that, the setups are growing stronger for a very good, significant move happening very soon, it seems, with Theta. As far as Litecoin against Bitcoin is concerned, it's not showing any bullish strength whatsoever. It's still in a correctionary mode from its last leg lower from the 117 handle down to the 80. And before that, you had the 173 handle, or even really the 180, but yeah, the 173 handle. Significant decline from the June 12th top. That's a month plus a week plus a few more days, a month and a half almost on this decline since then. So it's, yeah, just not showing anything yet that it's ready to end this downtrend, but it still has to get about below the 18 average of lows, which is flatter than. No, it's not. It's on level. It's declining barely, but it's practically flat in my book. It's got to get below it. 887 ballpark. 886 would be the area. I'd be look. Well, I can get that number. I think it would be displayed in here. 18 average of lows on the daily term right now is 885. Within its last short term move, this was the rally that occurred July the 17th, about almost a week ago. And a lot of sideways consolidation, but we've had a break below support. And now, is this just going to be an extended hit, come into this level? I don't know. I can't make a case on either direction at this point, but we are seeing that if we do get any type of rally into this level, come up to this previous area of support, 18 average lows, and on the shorter term from this, start to make a case for any type of short setups, then that I don't know would automatically start to go down. If you're playing it from this time frame in here, this is one of those choppy, so it's trying to make a move up, just grinding higher. Nope, grinding lower, grinding higher, grinding lower. Nothing more, but now you had some sort of significant thing happen. Okay, establish support. How do we correct in here? We have the 18 average of highs. So in this point here, this is where you're seeing weakness. This is where you're like, oh, short setup, and it ended up having a leg lower from that point. That did take a while to do it when it was showing weakness at the lows, and it can't counter a failed breakout or a possibility if you were trying to short here, maybe you got stopped out for your gains that you could have had. All the type of mechanisms that we can have amongst it. Okay, well now since this leg lower, come up to the 18 average of high of lows almost on the 11 o'clock period. You have this somewhat of a bullish period in here, and it's breaking through. I mean, short term, I'm making a lot of case here for, well, it's looking more bullish than bearish, but when I say it's looking more bullish than bearish at this, I'm looking for it to go up to 18 highs and where it came from, and that's probably an area of resistance. For me to make any good cases to say, oh, I want to bet short, I'm not going to be wanting to do so. I'm going to want to see some sort of weakness amongst in here, maybe 2, 3, 4 periods starting to go lower. Those sort of deals. But for me, the best way I look at Theta, I talked about Theta, I talk about Litecoin, I'll trade the ratio. And it's down to 754. For a good chunk of time, it was in the thousands or so range from June 15th through about July the 9th, and been going lower. But throughout the March all the way up to June, it was going higher. It was down to under 300 before. I expect these things to keep going volatile, and when the markets go down, it's selling theta, accumulating Litecoin, and then the opposite on the way up. At least for me, it is. And now let's finish off with a couple other quick coins. First, Sky Coin. Then we'll go three. Well, then we'll go Go Chain, and then we'll go Gross Coin, GRS. An attempt on the daily. That's what this is. An attempt. For it has been, the last high was June the 1st on the daily, and that was at the 284 handle, albeit it's 6 decimals. It's 28,000 Satoshi, then 14,000 Satoshi now. So after resisting this last move down sideways, okay, now finally above the 18 average of highs. That's the best it's been since it's went down. First time. Okay. Anything here, just say it's looking like it might be ready to go. Well, this becomes interesting this current period here, this volume on this breakout. We had this little move in here on big volume, right? Not doing much. It's okay, interesting. And then consolidating on lower volume, and now we're having this period come on high volume. On the 3-hour term, a couple periods in here where big volumes come in, which is the current one and the last one, and then of course the two in here. And then just showing an ascending triangle from this period, well, in between the two volumes, that is, with the resistance and of course the uptrend line. On the single hour term time frame, resistance has been broken from this short term level, and well, the volume started in here, so people obviously this is an interesting thing. Now this period has had I guess it's possible. This has been a rally on extremely late volume. I don't know what to take of this. I'm at a loss for words for this period, other than it's a nice bullish pattern, only price pays. And there has been that interesting volume coming in. So I don't know. This is very, very interesting. Maybe this has the potential to have some sort of decent moves going in. Now, like a lot of these altcoins getting their ass kicked, this is going from like 6,000 handle down to 140. That's a loss of a few dozen times. Okay, now a quick look at GoChain, which I talked about yesterday, and had a decent move. Is it pulling it back? Will it be a failed breakout? I don't know if it'll be a failed breakout, but it was up to 156, down to 135. It hasn't went down too much, but from this last leg higher and these last moves, and it was looking good before then, like, okay. Had this level of resistance. Oh, there's the break. Comes back down. And then another leg higher. Not only for about 20% or so. Where we go from this range point, not too sure. But obviously, I'm going to be looking for those moves when they happen in the sense of, oh, it's going up. I'll sell. It's going down. I'll buy. I sold a decent amount, an okay amount in here. Really haven't been buying much back. I bought a little bit of it back. And finally, let's take a look at GRS. This is just an interesting, wildly moving intraday. It's looking to make a statement. I mean, suppose it's not much above the 18 average of highs as far as making a statement and reverting the trend, but it's most certainly making a statement amongst its volatility. But before all this happened, I mean, whatever. I mean, some of these moves, if you try to trade within the order book, there's a lot of opportunities. It's a lot of work, a lot of CPR, or a lot of automated stuff. But when you have these moves go up and down, oftentimes there can be a little bit of a bid-ask spread differential because this doesn't trade at the greatest of volumes normally on Binance. But we have this breakout that occurred in here. Price action goes from the lows of 24.5 to 28, back down to 25, up to 29, and well, just some wild moves along the way. 3-hour term time frame, this key level of support, we can see how it comes right back to it. Oh, interesting thing as it's lifting higher. And that's some of the things I've said so many times before in these markets. When you have a breakout, I want to see it come back to where it came from, to the 18 as support. And this is one that did just that in both cases. Now it's propelling itself higher from that. It has microscopically and noticeably gotten above this high. So just as I wanted to see it hold there, okay, I want you to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to upgrade it now. Last time it was all these little hit picks that went through. Now I'm looking at 2600 and change, for it was the level of, it was this resistance, it was this resistance, it was close here. So I guess you could even count, say, even go to like, say, 2600 even's a good number. All of these hits in here, and then where it consolidated its last move. So any corrections at that point. And this thing could fly at any time, because within this time, it just almost seems that maybe it's done for, it's never going to happen again. I don't know, but over and over and over again, these things just have phenomenal moves. I suppose the best way of showing it would be maybe on the bid tracks, but you can look for yourself. All of the times it has moves of like, whether it's in anywhere between a day to 3 days usually, and moves of like at least around double or significantly better. The last significant move was from 6,000 Satoshi up to about 18. That was better than a 3x move. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.